I love these guys.
All right, welcome to the Secondhand Lions Podcast. Here we are again on a Wednesday here in the time period between the draft and the training camp. The team organized drills are happening again. This is week 2 of those. I'm John Drennan here with my longtime friend and Lions fan, Bill Radford, and we still have a lot to talk about. And before, Bill, I go out to you, I just want to share, I was talking to my nephew, Ryland. Congratulations to him. He just finished over 22 years as a Marine helicopter pilot and just a couple days ago retired. So he's moving on. But one thing he shared is he listens to this podcast every week and really likes it, shares it, and we're going to bring him on sometime in this second season, Bill, to share some things along with other guests we're lining up to come join us once in a while. But hey, with that, Bill, big news this week in the NFL. Myles Garrett is now a Los Angeles Ram, and there's things to talk about. So let me go to you to kick that one off.
Well, thanks, John. Congratulations to your nephew, Ryland, you said.
Yes.
And thank you for your service, Ryland. That's 22 years a helicopter pilot. I would imagine a lot of helicopter pilots in the Marines couldn't make it 22 years. It's a dangerous occupation.
He's got some stories, that's for sure.
But yeah, the big news just shows you how fast things change. The big news was A.J. Brown going to the Patriots. You know, that was all the rage until all of a sudden Myles Garrett traded to the Rams, and we didn't hear anything more about A.J. Brown. So, yeah, that was a surprise because Garrett has recently signed a mega contract. He just broke the single season sack record. He's still in his prime. And, you know, Cleveland and the dog pound and all that, they love their defense. And it was a surprise that they would trade away the face of the franchise. I know they got a good young edge rusher, Jared Verse, and a couple of draft picks. So they're looking for the future. But it was a shocker. And I know reading about the Lions had sort of sniffed around Garrett at some point in the last year or so and decided they couldn't pay that price, which I don't blame them. It's a lot to give up, but the Rams are always trying to win right now. And part of that, as I heard people explain it, is, well, there were two things. One, LA is Hollywood, so you have to do something exciting to keep people's attention in Hollywood because there's so many other things to do and to look at. And the other is it seems like they're always worried about Sean McVay deciding to hang him up and go to the television booth and be an analyst. And getting Matthew Stafford kept him around, and now getting Myles Garrett is exciting him. You should have seen the look on his face at the press conference introducing Garrett. He was like a kid on Christmas morning. So, yeah, I think it's different for a team in Los Angeles than it is for a team in anywhere else other than maybe New York. So there's a lot of people saying they're automatically the Super Bowl favorites, but I know you at least have a different opinion on that.
You are right about that, my friend. And I think you made great points there. Myles Garrett's a real deal. So, yeah, so many people are now saying, well, the Rams now, they're locked in, they're unbeatable. You're hearing all kinds of things. But here's a crazy thing, Bill. You made the comment, LA, they want to win now. Well, for the fans who hear that and say, yeah, that's right. Why don't the Lions want to win now? Why didn't the Lions do it? Take a sedative and a few deep breaths. Come on. Let me talk to that group for a minute. Probably not our listeners, Bill, but um, when you dissect the Rams there, they had a guy still in his rookie contract who's also been a Pro Bowler and is a very good player in Jared Verse to be part of that trade. Lions didn't have that guy. Now, if Terrion Arnold was healthy and was a Pro Bowler or a really, really good corner, then you could start to make the case that we had a guy like that. But the only guy we had that would equal that would be Jahmyr Gibbs. And there's no way in the world they're going to trade Jahmyr Gibbs and 3 future draft picks for Myles Garrett, who's 31 years old.
Well,
Let's
we
just
had
put
Trey
that.
Hutchinson,
Well,
which would defeat the purpose.
yeah, and he's not in a rookie contract. I mean, if you're the Browns, you're getting Jared Verse on a very low contract. You're giving up a guy that's got a monster contract. But that's not all. The Browns get a first round pick next year, a second round pick in 2028, and I believe a third round pick in 2029. That's 3 years of strong draft capital. And Jared Verse, and folks, Bill and I talked before this, but I'm going to ask Bill you the question. If everything was equal, would you take Myles Garrett or Jared Verse if the Lions could have either player going forward on the team? Even Steven
Well,
with
I
the
tell you, I
contract.
think I would take Garrett only because I think the Lions are in a position right now they could win it all.
Okay, and that's valid. And we'd have
And Garrett,
listeners.
Garrett is much more impactful at this point. Now, Verse may end up being that, and he may play longer. Uh, but you just don't know because either one of them could break a leg, ruin a knee, uh, or anything like that. Jared, that could happen to Jared versus he's look what happened to Micah Parsons. So uh, I think the Lions have an offense that's as good or better than anybody else, and their defense could be greatly improved. Excuse me, by another edge rusher, especially one as prolific as Garrett. And I would give up a couple of years of mediocre football in exchange for a Super Bowl win now.
Yeah, so any listener who would agree with that, I would say, yeah, I understand that for sure. Those are correct points. However, I believe if we had Jared Verse in addition to who we've got and not Myles Garrett, our defense still just went way up and is good enough to win the Super Bowl. But to me, over time, right now, Jared Verse at age 25 and a half brings more value over time than Myles Garrett, who's 31. So again, it'd be short term versus long term. Um, and no doubt we won a Super Bowl. But back to my previous point, anybody who's saying why didn't Brad Holmes do what the Browns did? I'm sorry, what the Rams did. They couldn't. They're not going to give up Jahmyr Gibbs and 3 future important draft picks for a 31-year-old edge rusher when they've already got one of the best 3 or 4 in the game. So,
Well, the other argument for Myles Garrett as opposed to Verse is you're right. Verse is on a rookie contract. When is that up? This year, next year?
now I think this is will be his 3rd year, so it's got 2 years left of that rookie
And
contract.
right. And then he can go sign anywhere he wants.
Right. Or they'll have a 5th year option because he was a first round draft pick. I think, quite sure he was. But anyhow, so that's the big news. And Okay, folks, does that mean the Rams are going to be the best team and they're going to win the NFC? No, it doesn't mean that. Does it improve their odds? A little bit, maybe a lot. Their odds were already good. But again, we don't know if Myles Garrett's going to make it through training camp. We don't know. So, or other players for that matter. So, well, let's move on. Bill, you mentioned A.J. Brown. So, and that was the story until it wasn't the story. But a couple things about that. A.J. Brown went to the Patriots. I saw an interview. Um, A.J. Brown has a New England Patriots carpet in his basement. It says New England Patriots Man Cave. It's this big carpet with the New England Patriots logo. He said the Patriots were his team growing up, and he's always wanted to play for them. So I don't hold that against him. Maybe he's got a Eagles carpet in his living room. I don't know. I'm not going to make a big deal of it, but he wanted to be a Patriot. But here's a comment from one of his highly respected teammates, Jordan Mailata, all pro tackle. He said, "Thank God it's over." Quote, unquote. And what he was talking about is just the drama around A.J. Brown. And what I love about, people might say, why didn't the Lions go after A.J. Brown? They're never going to go after a drama guy like that. Never. So I'm glad he's a Patriot. I wish him well. Um, but that's
The
some of
Lions
the
potentially have two and maybe three receivers, well, at least
better.
two that are better than him.
No, for sure. That's another reason that would be ludicrous. But here's what the Patriots got. I'm sorry, the Eagles. A 2027 fifth rounder and a 2028 first rounder. To me, the Eagles won that deal big time.
Well, part of the reason they won is because AJ Brown, like you said, was such a drama queen.
Right. Big part of it. He's an extremely
The
skilled athlete.
they were I watch Good Morning Football, and sometimes it's good. When they talk about football, it's good. A lot of times they do silly nonsense sort of things because they have to fill up 3 hours. But uh, they were showing this one game against Tampa last year where the Eagles were leading 31-23. I think it was the fourth quarter. They had the ball and they went three straight plays past to AJ Brown, even though he was double covered, because they wanted to keep him happy.
Yeah,
And they end up
can you imagine Dan Campbell trying to keep a player happy in that way?
no. Then after the game that they won, all the talk was AJ Brown's not happy, not being used right. They won the game. They threw the ball to him. He either didn't or couldn't catch it. Uh, but it was almost like the Buccaneers knew they're going to throw to AJ Brown because he's whining all the time.
Yeah, there you
But,
go.
but why would you do? Why wouldn't you throw to the guy that's open? I know Goff would. At least I hope he would.
And Jameson had a lot of reason to whine last year and never did. Jameson Williams, for
Yeah.
a couple of weeks in a row, he was like the invisible man. I can't imagine Amon Rod St. Brown ever whining for reasons like that.
Especially if you win the game.
Right. That's exactly right. That's
I
what
could imagine if you're playing in a close game and you lose and they didn't ever throw the ball to you and you felt like you could help, that might you might be a little grumpy about that, but I can't imagine any Lion player complaining when they win the game. At least not
right.
about
So
not being used right.
Yeah, so we don't need to worry about that in Detroit, that we're going to have, be dealing with those kinds of issues like the Eagles have. A little bit more news, Bill. Drake London, the receiver for Atlanta, really good player, but he signed for 141 million for 4 years. And I believe he must be going into his fourth year. Um, Not sure about that. 100 million guaranteed. He's now the third highest paid receiver in the game. And I bring that up because it's just like, where is this gonna go? These, I think every year y- your salary cap amount goes up, and there's ways to figure out these big salaries because the Lions got a bunch of them. But you just wonder, that's one player getting 141 million with 100 million of it guaranteed over 4 years. And I bring this up because my concern, and I've heard it since the Lions have gotten good, is that the average Joe just can't go to a game. It's, it's like a game now and the NBA's had the same criticism that it's just people with a lot of money that can never end up in a seat, especially for big games, Super Bowl as an example. So,
Yeah,
but
my brother-in-law has partial season tickets to Carolina Hurricanes games, and he was offered he could have bought tickets to the Stanley Cup Finals. They were $500 a piece for each of his two, and he said on the secondary market now those same tickets were going for 1,600.
yeah, yeah. So it's not just NFL, NBA.
I mean, if you're Joe Lunchpail, you got a couple of kids that like to play sports, you're not taking them to a game,
No, you need a AAA game to go to or a college, you know.
right?
Well, Bill, another, I brought up a name I had never heard of, and you hadn't until we talked about it. The Steelers have a linebacker, Nick Herbig, but he's an outside linebacker, so he's an edge rusher, but 4 years, 100 million. So that's more than Jack Campbell got, but Jack's an interior linebacker. This guy's an edge rusher linebacker. So he falls more in the Micah Parsons, Hutchinson camp. But still, guy we've never heard of. I don't know what he was as a draft pick or how old he is, but 4 years, 100 million. But Bill, we had some fun looking at something I'll share with our listeners that came out and gives us a little bit of stuff to chat about, and that is the most recent preseason 2026 power rankings. And this came out from, it looks like ESPN, most recent. It's got the Lions at number 8, but a couple interesting things. Of the first five, it's got three of the NFC West teams. They got the Rams at 1, the Seahawks at 4, the 49ers at 5. What's interesting about that, again, three of those teams are from one division, and the Seahawks are fourth, even though they won the Super Bowl. So maybe losing Kenneth Walker Jr. is a big blow in people's minds. They've got the Bills at number 2 going into their new stadium this year. And they got the Ravens at 3, and they have a new coach. They lost their all-pro center, and Lions beat them last year at Baltimore. So go figure. But then, Bill, about a year ago, you made this statement. Why do the Packers always get such great ratings at the start of a year? Well, they got them rated 6th. I think that's too low. They got the Chargers
You
at 7 and the Lions at 8.
mean six is too high?
Yeah. Yeah, I meant too low in terms of low numbers, 1 through 6. But yeah, Packers should be not top 10 in my mind, or maybe top 8 or 9. But here's the part I want our listeners to hear. Of the last 10 listed, Lions play 8 of the 10. Dolphins, Jets, Cardinals, Titans, Panthers, Saints, Falcons, Giants. Those are 8 of the last 10. We play them all.
Well, we would hope to go 8-0, but that's probably not realistic. 7-1, 6-2.
Yeah, I mean, 8-0 is probably not likely, but 7-1, I think, probably is really likely. Every time we get into this part of the offseason, I start paying attention.
Read those guys again.
Those 10 or those 8?
Those 8.
Okay, I'm going to go worst or lowest. So the lowest at 32 was the Dolphins. Then the Jets. Then the Browns, who we don't play. Then the Cardinals, we do play. The Raiders, we don't play. But then the Titans, Panthers, Saints, and Falcons and Giants. We play all 5 of them.
Do we play the Giants at home or on the road?
That one, I believe, is the home game between our 3 road game north in finishing up the season.
Okay.
So we are at Vikings, Giants at home, at Bears, at Packers. So if we can win all these games and go into that last stretch really ahead of the curve, we're in good momentum at that point. So I found that interesting.
So here's a question for you. If you could choose between, let's say, going 14-3 and having a first round bye, or going 11-6, still win the division, and everybody's healthy, which one you picking?
Second one. I want a healthy team.
So you would rather play an extra playoff game, possibly one on or more on the road, and be completely healthy.
Yes.
I think I would too.
Yeah, and a couple of my reasons, Bill, 2 years ago we had home and a bye, and the Commanders come in and beat us. I know we were in poor shape, we weren't healthy, even close. But then last year we had the bye week before Minnesota, we played them and lost. So I sometimes think that week off is maybe more of a curse than a plus.
Well,
Sometimes.
I think it is for some teams. It seems like some teams always win after a bye. And I don't know why that would be different for the Lions. But you're right. They don't seem to they seem to lose some momentum.
But interesting too. I think a big reason they lost those 2 games I just mentioned were how beat up and injured they were. And that's why I want to go with a healthy team over perfect schedule.
Yeah, I agree. I just remember the Washington loss to me was shocking
Me too.
because they had the game before the last game of the season, they had dismantled the Vikings,
Correct.
just killed them. And the
Yep.
Vikings were a good team, better than Washington.
Yep.
So how they let that happen, I don't know.
Well, Bill, I got this question for you. There's a lot of question marks right now with every team, and especially I think the Lions. What are your 3? Give me your 3 biggest kind of sleeper question marks for this year, where maybe a certain player could really swing one way or another, or could really have impact. That's kind of a under the radar that could really be on the radar.
Well, my number one is Tesla. I think that he's got tremendous talent, catches anything near him. I think he was underutilized last year. He really uh, only got work as sort of a secondary receiver, not a he didn't ever seem to be primary. I don't know how many catches he had, but he had some of the most spectacular catches you could ever see.
I
So
believe he
he's
had 16 and 6 touchdowns.
right. So there you go. Uh, the second would be Laporta. Um, he was doing so well before he got injured, and so sometimes football is such a strange game. Those athletes are so fine-tuned. They play at such a high level, and an injury, even one that they've recovered from, has residual effect, and they're never quite the same. So hopefully Laporta will still be uh, what he was before. And if he is, he's close to the best tight end in the league. And then my other uh, of the three, you asked for three, would be Blake Miller. I mean, if he comes in and plays anything like the hype, we're going to be pretty stout on the offensive line, which, our quarterback, Jared Goff, he's not a scrambler. He doesn't get hurt, but he needs a few seconds, some time. So I remember watching Brady with the Patriots, and he always seemed like he had all day long to throw the ball. And that's the players they drafted, how they were coached, whatever it was, he seemed like he had 5 or 6 seconds to throw every time. So most analysts say if you have 3 seconds to throw, that's good. 4 seconds is great. Uh, so I think Miller would be a very big asset if he's as good as we're hoping.
Okay, well, I love those three. By the way, I think Brady, there were three reasons for why it seemed like he always had time. One, I think they always had a good, solid offensive line. Two, I think they really knew what they needed for Tom Brady. And number three, he was just so skilled at knowing when to step up, when to throw it, getting rid of it, throwing it in the stands. And I think
Yeah, he
was
wasn't fast, but he knew how to move around in the pocket and
right.
avoid unnecessary hits.
Exactly. And I think Goff's gotten good at that. I don't think he was 5 years ago.
No, I remember he was fumbling a lot when we first.
Yeah, he was getting hit and losing the ball but and that quarterback position takes time. So Goff's been around. He's I think 32 or 33 this season. All right, well you named three, all good ones. They're all offensive players. I'm going to name my three and it's a whole different approach. Um, but I'm the one who asked the question, so I know in my own head what meaning I applied to it. I'm going to start with Levi Onwuzurike. 2 seasons ago, he played really well, and that's the season Hutch went down, and he was needed, and he played very well. Last year, he didn't play a minute. We found out before training camp he was out for the year. Well, the language or the words coming out of Allen Park right now is he looks really good. His knee's good, he looks good, and is ready to go. But he's also a guy that's been hurt most of his, this will be his, I think, 6th year, and he's been hurt like three of them. Um, but he could have a big impact. And without him having an impact, Lions need to shore up that D line somewhere. My second one is Ennis Rakestraw, another guy. They were high on him. They drafted him 2 years ago. I think he played a little bit in a few games his rookie year, got hurt, and didn't play at all last year. But again, he's a potential really talented guy. And if he's good and can come out and be maybe a starting or a number three cornerback, depending on Terrion Arnold, could be huge for this team. And my third one, and I know I said player, or I maybe implied players, but I think Drew Petzing is my third kind of wild card. Um, Man, if he can have some magic, no question Ben Johnson had some magic as offensive coordinator when he was here. And if Drew Petzing can really bring value to that coaching position, I think that's huge. And I think, with the three people you mentioned and all the weapons, Lions, I think we're looking at the number one offense in the NFL.
Yeah, they were, with all the criticism last year, I think they still ended up third or fourth in points for the whole league.
No, I think they were fourth overall in offense. I don't know if that means points or yards or combined
Yeah.
factors, but and Bill, there's another addition you mentioned to me before we got on here in the coaching or the home office. You want to talk about the new guy from the Dolphins?
Yeah, his name is escaping me at the moment, but he was the general manager of the Dolphins from 2015 to just this last year, mid-season. Uh, they let him go. They had a terrible loss on national TV, and the owner felt like they had to do something. So um, I had his name written down here.
It's Chris Greer.
Okay, thank you. I don't know anything about him other than he was a GM for the Dolphins. Uh, of course, the fact that the Dolphins, I think they were near last on your list of power rankings.
Right.
So the question is, how good could he be? But it's just another example of, part of the brain trust of the Lions is to have as many good people on board as possible. And obviously, Brad Holmes, I assume he's the one that hired him.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, it could be that he's just a friend of Brad Holmes and they'll find us something for him to do. Uh, I know that stuff goes on too. So
Well,
I'm not sure what to go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what kind of impact he'll have. I just thought it was interesting that the Lions have uh, head coaching candidates as their coordinators and former general managers on their support staff. I saw this one rumor that the former Steelers coach was going to be part of the Lions, but that was squashed. That was one of those online fake outs.
Yeah, that doesn't resonate that would be the case, but you never know. I looked up this Chris Greer story because I'd never heard of him, but here's what it says. He spent nearly 26 years with the Dolphins, including a decade as the team's general manager. Before that, he worked with the Patriots, and that would have been when Belichick and Brady were there. In their scouting department. So he's got 3 decades of NFL personnel experience, and he did draft. Um, um, how do you say his name? Tua, his last name.
Tuakalabola or something. I don't know. I
The
could have it right
Dolphins.
in front of me and I still couldn't pronounce it.
Yeah, I know. The Dolphins' former quarterback who had all the concussions, and this year is opening the season with somebody else, Arizona maybe. But he also drafted Jason Waddles and um, I believe Phillips, some really good players in Miami. But you're right, just the experience, and maybe he and Brad do have a thing. But I just think to have great minds added to the organization can't hurt. And Bill, I got one last thing I want to do to wrap this one up, and before next week, where I'm get ready, I'm ready to talk about all the if factors that could land the Lions as the Super Bowl champs. I'm ready to offer that next week. Way, way, way too early, but I've
We,
been collecting my reasons. So,
well, you know
but
that saying, if ands and buts for candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
I do know that's so. Next week I'll talk about the if factor, but one more thing, and I like seeing this. Veteran Sports Illustrated NFL writer made three predictions about the Lions this year. Here they go. They win the North Division. They have the best record in the entire NFL. And they have the number one offense in the entire NFL.
Sounds like a Super Bowl team to me.
It does. And again, uh, stories don't win games. Stats don't win games. Talk doesn't win games. But it's kind of cool to hear that because we've also made the point repeatedly on this podcast that sometimes it's like, what are these people thinking? The Lions are nowhere to be found in some of these things that it's so obvious. So,
Yeah, I really think there's kind of I don't know if it's an anti-Detroit or a dismissive of Detroit because it's not just the Lions. I noticed all the while the Pistons were going through their um, unfortunately short playoff run. Anytime they talk about the game, they were talking about the other team, whether the Lions or the Pistons won or lost. The other team, the Hawks or the Cavs, were who they were talking about. So I don't I don't understand it, but that's how it is. Maybe it's because neither the Lions or the Pistons have won in a long time. So
well, I was thinking that as you're talking, like, why is that? And it might be the Lions just need to win a Super Bowl to get in that higher conversation. I mean, they've never been in one. So,
right, they need to get to one.
yeah.
They need to be perennially good.
So here's a question. Back years ago, the Bills got in four in a row and lost them all. Or was it five? I think it was
Four,
four. Would you rather get in four in a row and lose them all or get in one and win it?
one and win.
You didn't need to think about that.
No, I want to win.
Yeah.
See,
Well,
that's what the Rams. That's what the Rams did with Stafford. They thought if they traded and got Stafford, they could win the Super Bowl. They were right.
and they clearly think that this year, if we get Myles Garrett, we're going to win the Super Bowl, and we
But
hope they're
then the
wrong.
Rams fell off significantly for a couple, 3 years or 2 years anyway, after they won the Super Bowl, because of all that they traded away to the Lions.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the Lions got better. So the Rams are just have the attitude that we want to win this year and the future be damned. So
I'll tell you, Bill, the thing the Rams have done probably better than any team in football is draft in days 2 and 3. Puka
yeah.
Nacua was like a fifth round pick. Their running back, Williams, is it? Um, Lower round pick or higher round pick, rather. Lower. Second or third day.
But what does that tell you?
Well,
Tells me that there's all kinds of talent that and there's not that much difference sometimes between a third and a first round pick,
or a third and a fifth
right?
going the other direction. You're right.
Or in case of Tom Brady, a sixth round pick and everybody else that's ever played.
Yeah. So for the Browns fans that don't listen here, but a couple do, um, put a smile on your face. You got Jared Verse and three draft picks over the next 3 years that are either first, second, or third round. They had a good draft this year, a good draft last year, and hopefully they can figure out a quarterback and stop with the Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Watson. Just stop it. Just get a quarterback. You're on a good path there, Cleveland Browns. And if you haven't seen it, watch Draft Day.
All right, John, it's been a pleasure again.
All
Uh,
right, Bill.
we can, for all of you who are interested, you can check out our website. It's the shlpodcast.com. SHL stands for Secondhand Lions. Tell your friends and go Lions.
All right, John Drennan, Bill Radford signing off till next week. Bye bye for now.